Hello and welcome to part 2 of this Beatles analysis series. In the first part, we introduced the circumstances of Sgt. Pepper's release and the Beatles' changing approach to writing lyrics. Now, we'll take a look at one of the Beatles' most iconic choices of instrument. Geoff Emerick recalls a manifesto of sorts coming into effect when the Beatles returned to Abbey Road on the 24th of November 1966. Speaking in 2017, he said, "They went on tour and couldn't recreate any songs from the Revolver album. So John came into the control room on that first day and said, we're never going to tour again, and we're going to make an album that's going to have sounds on it and things on it that no one's ever heard before." As the first track to be recorded, Strawberry Fields Forever ensured that this approach was followed. Its opening utilises a timbre never before heard on a Beatles record. At first, you'd be forgiven for thinking that it's an ensemble of flutes. It isn't. It's a Mellotron MK2. A mellotron is a keyboard that triggers tape loops that are contained inside the instrument. Some of these tape loops consist of a bar of music that plays on repeat, allowing people to easily accompany themselves. A demonstration of this can be found in Paul McCartney, Chaos and Creation at Abbey Road, where McCartney uses tape loops that consist of a walking bass line, a snare backbeat played with brushes, and a lead guitar part. Further examples can be found in a particularly quaint demonstration of a Mellotron in 1965. However, not all of the tape loops were presets designed to provide accompaniment. Some were just recordings of instruments playing a note, allowing the Mellotron to be used in the same way as a traditional keyboard instrument, albeit with more diverse timbres.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to Strawberry Fields.
The flutes heard at the beginning of Strawberry Fields Forever are the product of a Mellotron that was, according to Geoff Emerick, Lennon's personal instrument. The Mellotron was generally considered by musicians to be a precursor to the synthesizer and was incredibly rare for a couple of reasons. One of which being that it wasn't particularly practical. The BBC Radiophonic workshop had 2 custom-built models that they used throughout 1963 and 1964. However, they found that the speed at which the tape would play would fluctuate. This, mixed with the apparently low quality of audio, meant that they found the instrument to be unsuitable for broadcasting. The other reason for the Mellotron's rarity was the price. Geoff Unwin, who promoted the Mellotron during the 60s, said that a Mellotron cost £1,000 when the average house was $2,000 or $3,000. This price meant that the Mellotron was out of reach to the vast majority of musicians. Lennon, however, was willing to pay. In fact, Unwin visited Lennon after the purchase to give him a few pointers because musicians were always looking for something new to try. And try he did. While the Beatles had used keyboard parts before, they tended to employ them in a style more akin to the blues. A piano can be heard in the intro and outro of You Like Me Too Much, playing a melodic line in thirds with a blues tremolo. The Beatles' limited use of keyboards in the earlier part of their discography is indicative of the fact that they were a 4-piece live band consisting of 2 guitars, a bass guitar and drums. Why would they write songs with keyboard parts if they didn't have a keyboard player? While all of them could play keyboards to one extent or another, Lennon and McCartney generally wrote songs on guitars, and that instrumentation almost always survived the song's development, especially in the early years. However, as their popularity grew and they were granted more freedom by EMI, keyboard parts started to creep into their arrangements, often played by George Martin during the recordings as he was more experienced. During live performances, keyboard parts were often entirely omitted, as the vast majority of the song wouldn't be affected, as in You Like Me Too Much, although occasionally keyboard solos would be played, often by Lennon, on a Vox Continental organ. In contrast to the Vox's searing tones, the Mellotron has a somewhat ethereal quality, presumably created by a mixture of the low-fidelity audio and fluctuating tape speed. This quality is reinforced by the music played on it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this interesting. In the next part, we'll be discussing the harmonies of Strawberry Fields Forever.